Hi there, I'm Steve Best, Howe Sound Marine Trail Steward for the Sea Kayak Association of BC. And this is an update on what has been going on in Howe Sound in 2022. But first, for anyone who isn't already familiar with the Sea to Sky Marine Trail, I thought I'd better give a very quick overview of the trail. Then we'll get to the new stuff. The Sea to Sky Marine Trail was BC Marine Trail's first marine trail, developed in partnership with Trans-Canada Trail. And it had its grand opening in 2015. The trail is made up of 7 launch sites, campsites at 4 pre-existing parks. Completing the trail were campsites at 6 newly created recreation sites. These are the sites that SCA-BC looks after entering into a partnership agreement with Recreation Sites and Trails BC in 2017. The 6 sites are Ramillies Channel on the east side of Gambier Island, Bain Creek on the west side of Howe Sound and just north of Port Mellon, Thornborough Channel, 6 kilometers up the coast from Bain, Islet View, another 6 kilometers along, Zorro Bay, 4.5 kilometers further up the coast, and lastly, Tantalus Landing, 9 kilometers further along from Zorro and just 4 kilometers from Squamish. By the end of 2021, all of the sites had site signs, tent pads, bear-proof steel food caches, composting toilets, tables, and visitor logbooks. Some of the sites have volunteer cleared boat runs. 2 of the sites have log bridges. And 2 of them already had tent platforms, Thornborough with 1 and Zorro Bay with 4. In 2021, the Howe Sound team was launched, and it's now in its 2nd year, with site stewards for each of our 6 sites, and teammates helping them with inspections, maintenance, and site improvements. And that brings us to 2022, which has been all about tent platforms. In 2021, Marie Sovereign, owner of Valhalla Pure Outfitters in Squamish, donated $9,000 toward tent platforms at 2 sites on the Sea to Sky Marine Trail. We had 2 suppliers mill cedar for 5 platforms, and in September of 2021, we delivered the lumber for 3 10-foot by 10-foot platforms to Tantalus Landing and for 2 12-foot by 12-foot platforms to Islet View. Nasty weather held up construction until spring, but in April and May of 2022, we built the 3 platforms at Tantalus Landing. With myself and volunteers Nick Heath, Murray Sovereign, Dave Beresford, Anya Packendorf, and Brian Pegg. Here's the lowest platform, overlooking the main trail at the bottom of the hill. Up the hill, the second platform is right beside the creek. And a little farther up the hill, the third platform. Then, in July, we built 2 12-foot by 12-foot platforms at Islet View. With myself and volunteers Nick Heath, Brian Pegg, Squamish paddler Ed Winnock, and Murray Sovereign. Here's the first one. It's just above the trail, and it has a pretty good view. The second platform is right at the ocean's edge, and it's pretty spectacular. Here they are with tents on them. Thank you to Murray Sovereign and his Valhalla Squamish Trail Fund for the funds to build these tent platforms. The latest news is from Apodaca Provincial Park on Bowen Island. This was a dormant park that we have been working toward adding as an official marine trail site. Over the last few years, we've had a concept plan approved, had an archaeological impact assessment carried out, and built an access trail up the hill from the beach to the upland tent platform sites. In anticipation of building tent platforms, over the last couple of years, Nick Heath and I, and Nick Heath with our club president George Prevost, have been carrying spare cedar and concrete pier blocks over to Apodaca in Nick's boat, and storing them on site. In 2021, Nick Heath secured a $5,000 Parks Enhancement Fund grant to mill cedar for 4 tent platforms. Last winter, the cedar was milled and stored at the BC Parks Works Yard in North Vancouver. Things kind of got stalled there until October 19th, when Parks suddenly announced that they would, over a 3-day period, deliver the materials to site by a barge with a crane, and then, with their rangers and our volunteers, build the 4 platforms plus a composting toilet. Great excitement. Volunteers were lined up, and then things came off the rails. The BC Parks boat broke down, and things got put on hold again. Then, on Wednesday, November 2nd, and without any warning, Parks announced that they had just delivered the materials to Apodaca by barge, dropping them off on top of this cliff. And where were our volunteers? The following Friday, 2 BC Park staff hiked in and moved some of the material. Then, on Saturday, November 5th, I hiked in with 2 volunteers, SCA-BC member and Club Locarno director Mark Stokes, and SCA-BC member Shay Thorne. And carried about 40 of these pier blocks and the rest of the lumber up to the project site and tarped it. And that's where things sit right now at Apodaca. But stay tuned. Parks say that once their boat is repaired and they get some parts they are waiting for the toilet, they'll be ready to take a last load over in their boat and start construction. Could be this winter, or it could be in the spring. So, what's next? Now that the platforms at Tantalus and Islet View are complete, and Apodaca is underway, we are turning our attention to the next item on our list. In 2017, steel job site toolboxes were located at each of our 6 sites as food caches. Despite a great paint job by Nick Heath, 5 years later, they are rusting out. Over the next 3 years, we are planning to replace 2 caches per year with aluminum caches. With this year's management fee from RSTBC and a $3,000 donation from a film festival put on by Valhalla Pure Outfitters in Squamish, that will cover 2 caches this year, and we are now narrowing down suppliers. And stay tuned for more tent platforms. And that brings us up to date for Howe Sound this year.